Hello, and welcome to Fox News. Against all propaganda both sides made, no one knows who to attribute for the current raging war. No and Silent made progress this week in period basis, taking over 6 citadels from Genesis Federation. Breaking news: Genesis has now called for a town hall. Let's get into it.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
So this is the end of the Genesis Federation. Tyrant Momosaurus Rex has now formed the Genesis Imperium. Will the name change help run the current state of war? How will the Imperium answer now that No Shush has their foot into period basis? An insider sent us documentation about the shift from the Federation to the Imperium. Let's get into it.
The final years of the Genesis Federation were marked by the betrayal of the values upon which it had been founded. The dedication to justice, culture, and civic duty that for thousands of years had maintained peace and balance across the galaxy rotted away under a tide of apathy and timidity. CEOs who had vowed to advance the interests of their people instead grew enamored with fleeting distractions of fame and the cultivation of personal wealth. The core worlds grew vain and capricious, demanding ever more from those relegated to life on the rim, while those on the frontier became bitter, resenting a government increasingly distant and unfeeling. There was no victor in the drone wars. The conflict had laid bare to the galaxy the frailty of the Genesis Federation. When Phoenix Tasador left for No, he was called a traitor, but a new order was needed to preserve the Genesis space that countless Capsuleers had fought and died to win. A decadent democracy was torn down, its corrupt institutions and abettors swept away. In its place rose a regime dedicated to pure ideals and a higher purpose. In all the ages past and since, no declaration has shaken the very foundations of the universe so much as the establishment of the Genesis Imperium. The Federation was aggressively in expansion. Their piece of cake or slice of space was never enough. The new formed Imperium will not do anything less than more expansion. Many governments across history have claimed authority over the entire galaxy. But for the first time, its words were strengthened by actions. The fanatic culture called Seaman under the leadership of Meliodas are not going to fight back in their core systems. The Capsuleers were trained to sacrifice themselves in the offensive operation. Planets under the Federation had retained degrees of sovereignty, were integrated directly into the Imperial bureaucracy. Esoteria had long been the traditional regional capital of the galaxy, but as the Imperial Throne region, its influence rose exponentially. The Genesis Imperium existed as an autocracy, with supreme power vested in a single individual. For the majority of its history, this figure was known as the Tyrant Momosaurus Rex. The Tyrant served as the head of state, head of government, and the supreme senior fleet commander of the Imperial Armed Forces, who would try to break their impressive power.